movie reviews. So I feel like I'm a couple weeks late for this being the most relevant video, but I cannot not talk about this movie. Judas and the Black Messiah, directed by Shaka King. The plot on IMDb reads this. Bill O'Neill infiltrates the Black Panther Party per FBI agent Mitchell and J. Edgar Hoover. As party chairman Fred Hampton ascends, falling for a fellow revolutionary en route, a battle wages for O'Neill's soul. So I know The Little Things was technically the first movie I saw that was on HBO Max that also went to theaters at the same time, but this one actually feels like a real movie that's doing that. And I gotta say, I think I'm a little disappointed that I did watch this on HBO Max and not in theaters. I absolutely loved this movie and would have loved to get a theater experience for it. So this movie stars Daniel Kaluuya and LaKeith Stanfield as Fred Hampton and Bill O'Neill. There it is. Based on true events, and it's fascinating to me how many of these true event movies we're getting from this time period. In the past year, we have had One Night in Miami, The Five Bloods, Trial of Chicago 7, now Judas and Black Messiah, all kind of around the Vietnam War, all around the 60s. It's just interesting to see how a lot of these movies intersect. Specifically in Trial of Chicago 7, we got a version of Fred Hampton, and I don't want to spoil what happens in this movie, but what happens in this movie, actually like the climax of this movie, happens in that movie. Which if you didn't know the story at all, it's kind of disappointing if you would have seen it happen in Trial of Chicago 7 first. So basically, if you haven't seen that movie or this movie, watch Judas and the Black Messiah first, and then go watch Trial of Chicago 7 for a lesser version of that. But this movie is fascinating. It's a take on a historical event that I don't think many people know, or at least see this side of the story. The Black Panther Party has not always had the best reputation, and I think this movie does a good job of showcasing some of the good sides of them. Fred Hampton is seen as this revolutionary person, not just this chaos-seeking person. He wants to actually do good in the world, and he's trying to stand up for people in his community. The interesting thing that I've seen a lot of people note, and I didn't know this until the last title card of the movie came up, but he was 21 at the time, and Bill O'Neill was 17. Now, I'll get to the performances in a second, because I think they absolutely killed it, but based on their performances, you did not get the impression that they were that young. And so I think that's a little downside of the movie, because I think this movie would have played so much better knowing that. I mean, they were just kids, and the police was hunting them down. But the performances are just incredible. I would be very shocked if Daniel Kaluuya was not nominated for an Oscar for this role. LaKeith Stanfield also does a good job, but he kind of just does what he usually does in movies, which I think is what this specific film is asking of him. So I don't think he underdelivers at all. It's just hard when you're going up against Daniel Kaluuya, who's giving one of the best performances I've seen in 5 years. Some other performances in this movie that I loved, I mean, pretty much everyone in this movie absolutely killed it. You have Dominique Fishback, you have Plemons, you have Martin Sheen in one of the most unique roles I've ever seen him in. But really, I think outside of the performances and the story this tells, I love the style that it's presented in, because this is a biopic, make no mistake of that, but it doesn't present itself like a typical biopic that you've seen in other films. This is a crime drama thriller. It feels like you're watching a mob movie. You have an undercover agent trying to infiltrate this very popular political organization that the police are also trying to get in on. It's just chaotic, and it's so much fun, and that feels really dark to say, especially with a movie that handles such a serious subject, but I think that's very intentional. Like, they make this an entertaining film on top of really having a heavy message. Another really cool aspect is this does borderline sometimes feeling like a documentary, and this movie ends seeing some actual footage from the real people who these characters are portraying, and so it's a good blend of this fictional world that this movie's creating with real life clips and historical facts, and ultimately it all comes together in a really beautiful masterpiece. The other crazy thing about this movie that I'm not really seeing enough people talk about is the title of it, Judas and the Black Messiah. It's such an obvious biblical reference, but this movie honestly plays out like that too. Fred Hampton is seen as one who is the savior to this community. People are looking up to him, and the movie actually follows similar beats as the story of Jesus. There's a scene when he's preaching sermons, and one of my favorite scenes comes from when he is preaching a sermon in a church. And there's even a scene that I thought was very obviously the Last Supper. It's just beautifully done, and I'm really shocked that I'm not seeing more people make this comparison. So yeah, I think this movie deserves all the praise it's getting, and I cannot wait to see how it does in award season. I think it's especially a very important movie to watch, and I cannot emphasize enough, I love the fact that this is very on theme for all these movies that have been coming out in the past year. So for those reasons and so many more, I'm going to give this movie a 4.5 stars if you follow me on Letterboxd, and you should. So that is Judas and the Black Messiah. Have you seen it? What do you think? Comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I will see you next time.